One of the things that we're talking about in regards to the immune system, that there's so many other components that are involved in supporting the immune system. So you can do herbs, like echinacea, or you can do olive leaf, or you can do oil of oregano. You can do all these different things that boost the immune system, but you need to look at the body as a whole. So we were talking about how to support your adrenals in the past, and we were talking about how important the gut is. But also something that is extremely important are your hormones. Thyroid, we know, how important it is. And frequently when you go to a medical doctor, they just test your thyroid stimulating hormone. And if that one is fine, then everything is okay. And that's a very, very small, it's a very narrow window when you look onto the thyroid to see whether it's functioning or not. What you really want to do if you want to get a complete picture is that you need to do both free T3, T4, which are the two thyroid hormones. T3 is the active form, and T4 is the one that could be potentially active. And then you want to look at the TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone, which is then the hormone secreted by the pituitary that tells the thyroid, you better get your act in gear. So if that number is high, that means that the pituitary has to scream a lot, to get the thyroid in gear. So it means that the thyroid is not working very well. So it's kind of like your children. If your kids aren't behaving, your voice becomes louder and you talk more. And if they are behaving, you don't need to say that much. So it's the same with the pituitary. If the thyroid is behaving, you really, pituitary doesn't need to scream that much. So your TSH, which is the hormone secreted by the pituitary to tell the thyroid, how much it needs to work, it will be lower if the thyroid is behaving and higher if it is not behaving. But that is not the complete picture, because you need also the actual thyroid hormones to see what's going on. And then also you have something called reverse T3, which is then it's kind of like the brake on the T3 or the active form. So if the reverse T3 is very high, it means that you're driving a car while you're then applying the brake a lot, which means that even though your T3 may be high, if you are pushing on the gas and then pushing on the brake a lot, that means that you are actually not moving that fast. So you want to look at both of them. And then it is becoming more and more common for people to have an autoimmune condition with the thyroid, which means that you need to check the antibodies, in order to be able to see if the immune system is actively going after then the thyroid. And it's sad to say, actually, and we've been talking a little bit about vaccines, people that are vaccinated tend to be more prone to autoimmune conditions. And also yesterday we talked about people that are too sterile. They're also more prone towards being dealing with autoimmune conditions. Or if you have a C-section birth, then the child tend to be more prone towards autoimmune. So all these factors play a huge role into how the immune system functions. So it is important then to check then your antibodies in regard to the thyroid, and that will then tell you how if the immune system is going after the thyroid, even though the T3, T4 may be looking good, they have like thugs that are continually beating on the thyroid, and then you need to address that. The thugs being then the immune system that is going after the thyroid and beating on it. So then you want to look at to see what are some of the factors underneath. Why is the immune system going after the thyroid? Is it some kind of heavy metal, chemical? Is it food? Emotions? What is it that we're looking at? And all these things are important. Tomorrow I'm going to be talking a little bit more about hormones and how important it is. I wanted to focus on the thyroid, and so that is what we do here. If you would come to the Karlfeldt Center, is that we look at your thyroid a little bit more, rather than just doing a TSH and say, oh, it looks good, you're fine, even though your hair is falling out and your skin is dry and you're depressed and you're gaining weight and you're exhausted. you need to look at more things rather than just the one little snapshot that most medical doctors do. So thyroid is important, and we'll look at the hormones tomorrow.